should we talk about Planet of the Apes? Because we went and saw Kingdom of Planet of the Apes last week.
We did.
I've been looking forward to this.
Packed house.
Yeah, it was a packed house. Yeah, look, interesting. I really, really enjoyed this one. I think we can immediately get the whole fact that it's too long out of the way because it is too long.
It is too long.
You can take about 40 minutes off this, even up to an hour, and you'd have a really tight movie. But I'm going to go out there and say I think this is possibly the best sequel since the original Charlton Heston movie. And that's coming from someone that loves the James Franco one.
The Dawn.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think that's a really great recalibration, or sort of just to bring it into the modern world.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't know, just had so many callbacks to the original. Like the score was very 60s. Some of the camera angles and shots were very reminiscent of that earlier one. I liked where the story went with this one. It's a coming of age story in many ways.
Yeah. Although it was weird as a coming of age story. Usually at a one of those kind of Joseph Campbellian kind of path of the hero type things, there's some kind of training montage or something that shows the progression, and they try and do it with the bird.
Well,
showing he's coming into his adulthood with his father's hawk or falcon or whatever it is finally lands on his arm and accepts his
spoiler
dominance.
alert. Not that it's that much of a spoiler. You knew it was going to happen.
And and then as I saw Zach Hepburn on his social media, you see these Instagram story. We went to see it at Melbourne Central, and they've got a big display on the shock tower. They put up the giant
huge
poster, but then they've also got the bird like suspended on wire, like as a kind of a 3D kind of element to it at the front. And Zach's like, "Look, it's the bird. It's the bird from the on his thing," and you're like, yeah, that's because previously when we went up there, I was like, why have they got a bird up there? Why isn't it a monkey?
I mean, that is the other criticism I have is that whole bird element of the story was very Avatar.
Yeah,
when the teenagers have to connect with their fucking avatar, whatever those birds are, dragon birds.
Which I get. I just found that they spent way too much time traveling without learning on the way. Like it would have been better had the baboon character taught him kung fu or something. So then when he gets to the end, he has the skills to pay the bills.
And then it really turns into monkey.
But he doesn't have the skills to pay the bills. All he does is get a bit of confidence. That was my kind of
I guess
issue with
fair enough. I didn't have an issue with that. I liked the traveling stuff. I liked that it didn't necessarily lead to much other than the destination itself.
But it's like, I think, as I told you, as we discussed on the night, I was like, I've seen all of this before in Day After Tomorrow and Last of Us, when you see the remnants of society and they're like, oh, look, a mall, but it's covered in grass now. You're like, okay, we've seen that before.
But I mean, it is Planet of the Apes, and the story does take place hundreds of years after the fall of man, and so those things would exist. Those things would be there, Well, I
always, when you watch that, there was that. Do you remember that series that played? I think it was on Channel 9. That was After Man, and it was all about how quickly the environment would
that's right.
claim it back.
Yep.
Like none of that stuff would exist. That stuff within 100 years it'd be rubble.
Rightio. And that is an interesting thing. Like there's a particular moment where the character looks through a telescope perfectly. It's been there for hundreds of years. They
don't even have to clean the lens.
No.
And it still rotates on its axis and stuff. And
yes. Look,
And they didn't even do that trick where there's a spider on the end and they go, ah!
Or Hooters.
Hooters, yeah. It's pointed at that woman's window.
That's right. That scientist hundreds of years ago was a pervert.
Yes, no homage to Rear Window there at all.
Oh my goodness. No, but I did. I loved it. I thought the animation, it's the new thing, what they're calling photorealistic animation, simply because they got in trouble for calling it live action, right? These movies are no longer live action. They are animated, essentially.
But I would argue that they are live action. Because a skin has been put on them, but it's still actual actors.
Yeah, no, but that's where I was going with it, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought that the performances were really good, particularly the lead ape, the teenager.
Yeah.
If you look at that actor in real life, you can see that character. Like they've really molded to his face the expressions of the ape. It's really him. But it was photorealistic. Like I actually bought into the animation in this one more than I have in other movies. Like it did not bother me at all.
The uncanny valley is slowly ceasing to exist. It's still there, but it's not nowhere. It's actually got to the point now where you're not disgusted by it. You know, like even things like Final Fantasy and stuff, which was the first one that theoretically breached the
movie that terrified all filmmakers and actors.
And Margaret Pomerantz.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that one, you're like, it still looks like a cartoon. Like it's still.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Is it because we're looking at animals being animated as opposed to humans? Like because you watch the intro of the new Indiana Jones or the Irishman when they de-age these actors, it looks terrible.
Yeah,
but this didn't bother me. So
because they're
not
anthropomorphic.
Human. Exactly right. Anyway.
I would just say too, just as a side note, this morning. I didn't take the dog for a walk this morning because it was the weather wasn't great, and so I just stuck on. I was looking on Disney Plus just for something to watch while I was having my breakfast, and I put on Last Crusade.
I
forgot just how fucking funny that movie is.
It's really funny. Sean Connery really makes the humor in that one.
Yeah, it's I caught a video of us talking. I think it came up on one of my social media feeds, and when I was talking about when we were talking about Sean Connery, and I was saying how he was a character actor trapped in a leading man's body, and never more, like he's having so much fun, and there's just that scene where he admits to having. Yeah, where
they're trapped. Is it where they're tied in the fire? They're tied to the chair. And he talks about having sex, and they both think they're talking about the other.
No, well, just before that, where they're, how do you know she's German? And she talks in her sleep, and he kind of looks at her and he just grins.
And then Indy looks over his shoulder, like what?
Yeah, there's so many, and there's that great. Marcus after they've done that whole, he can speak 12 dozen languages and he's got friends in any corner of the world. And then it just cuts to Marcus Brody walking through somewhere.
Anyone understand English?
And then somebody goes, water? No, thank you. Fish copulated in orders.
Even like the fucking,
so good.
The beach with the umbrella. Like, it's very.
I remembered my Charlemagne.
They got us. He shoots the tail off the plane. For the hitters.
It's so good.
It is. It's funny that because you did that recently. I went back to the latest Indiana Jones for a third attempt.
Yeah.
Still didn't. I didn't make it halfway. Disappointing.
Yeah.
What a way to bring down the intro of the show.
I enjoyed it in the cinema.
Yeah.
But unlike Crystal Skull, which I did not enjoy in the cinema, I think I've seen that more than any of the others. I've gone back and rewatched it.
Me too.
I have no interest in rewatching Dial of Destiny.
No, well, this is interesting. It's the only Indiana Jones movie I haven't enjoyed, but I keep going back to it, trying to find some pleasure out of it, but I can't. It's just it's a terrible movie.
I mean, no, I take that back. I enjoy the part of grumpy Indiana Jones with the moon landing and the party and stuff. That
100%. There's great
segment
elements.
Is great.
But anyway.
And I didn't have a problem. I know you had a big problem with the de-aging. That didn't bother me at all.
It's my biggest gripe.
It looks a lot better than Grand Moff Tarkin did in Star Wars.
And I don't think it's a particularly interesting sequence. That's, I think, maybe more to the point. De-aging bothers me because it's not an interesting sequence.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think, why didn't they just... I guess they can't. Like, they got River Phoenix to be young Indiana Jones. They didn't de-age Harrison Ford to try and make him a kid. Like they did with...
they didn't de-age his voice either, so he sounds 80.
Yeah, with Steve Rogers. No, when I call up places pretending to be my father in order to fix whatever problem he's got himself into, and I say I was born in 1945, legit, our voices are fine. They can't tell I'm not a 75-year-old man.
What I did think when I was watching it the other night, though, was that whole sequence is unnecessary. If you start the movie in the 60s, perfectly fine.
Yeah, but then that's the same as the argument that Indiana Jones is completely unnecessary to the whole plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like let's not go down that of what's necessary and what's unnecessary.
Reboot
in Indiana
Indy
Jones
is what
movies.
I'm saying. Reboot Indy.
Yeah, just start it again.
Bring in a new guy, mid-30s, and work from there.
Stick him in World War I and the Boer War and do that kind of stuff.
100%.